Howdy y'all and welcome. Hope everybody's doing well out there so far. Let's go and get right on into it here before we get into the heat wave and whether or not there's going to be any sort of tropical storms out there. Let's go and get into what kind of severe weather y'all could be dealing with for the next few days. As you can see here on Tuesday, we got a slight risk which goes into effect from South Dakota on over into Indiana and Ohio. All hazards are possible today, with a pretty low end threat for tornadoes over here by Nebraska and Iowa. Keep in mind, significant tornadoes can happen on low wind days. As far as the damaging wind threat goes, there's a 15% chance within the whole slight risk area. As far as large hail threat goes, there is a 15% hatched area over here by Nebraska and Iowa, so make sure you put up anything you don't want damage from hail today or blowing around from high winds, and make sure you're hyperweather aware again. Live within the low wind threat for tornadoes over here in Nebraska and Iowa. So we move off into hump day. We can see that there's another threat for some severe weather over here by Pennsylvania, New Jersey, parts of New York, Maryland, and parts of West Virginia and Virginia as well. All hazards are possible again tomorrow with a low wind threat for tornadoes over here by Pennsylvania and New York. As far as the damaging wind threat goes, you can see that there is a 15% chance over here in that whole slight risk area. As far as large hail threat goes, it's the lowest threat of the three, but threat nonetheless, as there is a 5% chance within both marginal risk zones on hump day. As we move off into Thursday, we can see that there's another chance for some severe weather up here by the Dakotas into Montana. Now, we do not know what the main risks will be just yet, so make sure you stay tuned to my X and Facebook pages, as I will keep y'all updated on there. I do daily weather updates on there, so make sure you go follow that page, so we'll keep y'all informed ahead of the storm. As far as from day 4 to day 8, we don't have any sort of severe weather, so that's good. So let's go and take a look at what kind of flooding we could be dealing with for the next few days. As we can see, we got a slight risk today up here by Wisconsin. On hump day, we have a slight risk from Kansas up into Illinois. And on Thursday, we have a slight risk over here in New Mexico. I would expect just right around 2 to 4 inches within the slight risk zones. And within the marginal risk zones, I would expect right around 1 to 3 inches. So make sure if you see a flooded roadway, you turn around and you do not drown. If you live in a low-lying area, please be aware of this. Now let's go ahead and get into the timing of when you could expect the worst for the severe for the next few days. Take a look at this. We'll take a look at the HRRR model. Keep in mind that date and time is up here if you ever want to keep track. Keep in mind all hazards are going to be possible today, which includes tornadoes, high winds, and large hail. As we push it forward, we can see that there's going to be a line of showers and thunderstorms in the early afternoon hours, and it's going to start to push its way further towards the south as we head into the early evening hours and turn mainly into a big old hail threat, although that is a low end threat. But make sure you put up anything you don't want damage from large hail or blowing around from high winds, as we could be coming in on right around 20 to 30 to some areas getting in on right around 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Could cause some power outages, so be aware of that and make sure again to put up anything you don't want blowing around today. And it's going to start to clear out as we head into the late evening into overnight hours, and our tornado threat is going to start to ramp up as we head into the overnight hours over here from Nebraska on over into Iowa. And as we take a look at our significant tornado parameters to see where the most favorable ingredients for tornadic activity could be at, we can see that there's going to be a 0.1 to 0.2. Some areas getting in on a 0.3 out of 10. Definitely, it's low end day, but make sure again to have a way to receive alerts, be hyperweather aware, and know where to go when that tornado warning gets issued for a location, regardless of whether it's a low-end threat or a high-end threat. As we move off into the midnight hour, we can see that the storm's going to start to diminish. Could be dealing with some big old hailers out here in east central Nebraska, but mainly it's going to turn into a big old flash flooding threat as we head into the early morning hours of hump day. So again, I'll repeat myself, but again, I would expect from right around noon to 4, so when I expect the worst severe weather over here from Chicago down to Louisville. And the tornado risk, I would expect that to occur through the late evening into overnight hours over here from Nebraska on over into Iowa before turning into a flash flooding threat the early morning hours of hump day. Now, to take a look at the timing for hump day, we're going to lower this HRRR run down to the 12Z model. This will take us all the way out into hump day. Keep in mind, on hump day, all hazards are going to be possible with a pretty low end threat for tornadoes from Pittsburgh on over into southern New York. We have a damaging wind and a low end threat for hail as well. As we push this into Wednesday, see, not much is going to be going on through the early morning hours. Going to be dealing with some showers and thunderstorms in western PA before turning severe as we head into the overnight hours. We could be coming in on some overnight tornadoes as well over here in central to eastern Pennsylvania near Harrisburg. Right around 8 o'clock is when I would expect there to be a couple tornadoes. Take a look at the tornadic parameters. We can see it right around 8 o'clock. That's why this is only a low end day, but 0.3 out of 10 near Harrisburg. So again, really not off the charts. Looking like this is going to be a late evening into overnight event with winds that could be gusting to upwards of right around 30 to 40 to some areas getting in on right around 50 to 60 mile-an-hour wind gusts. Could cause some power outages tomorrow as well. Looking like tomorrow's severe weather is going to be mainly driven by high winds with a few tornadoes possible, so be aware of this as this is going to be a late evening into overnight event, so make sure you have the alerts turned on and you know where to go when that tornado warning gets issued for your location. Now, to take a look at the timing for the worst severe weather on Thursday, we're going to take a look at the weather bell models or take a look at the lightning flash density rate. Now, keep in mind, we do not know what the main hazards will be just yet for Thursday, but make sure you follow my X and Facebook pages as I will keep y'all updated on there as I do daily weather updates. So again, go follow that page as I will be letting y'all know what the hazards will be possibly on tomorrow. So push us to Thursday, we can see that not much is going to be going on through the early morning hours. Keep in mind, the lightning flash density rate shows us where the most intense storms could fire up at. It's looking like this will be a early afternoon into a late evening event. As you can see, we're going to have pretty intense storms firing up by right around 5 o'clock. This is an Eastern time. I know y'all are in Mountain time over there, so keep that in mind as well. And it's looking like it's going to start to taper off as we head into the overnight hours of Friday. And now that we know the basic timing of when y'all could expect the worst severe weather for the next few days, it's going to take a look at the tropics to see if there's any sort of tropical storms or hurricanes forming. As we can see here in the National Hurricane Center, there's a 0% chance out here in the Caribbean. Out in the Pacific, don't got nothing. And the Central Pacific got nothing either. Now, we did have Tropical Storm Alberto. We had our first tropical storm of the year. Affected parts of Mexico and Texas. Brought a lot of flooding down there. I know there was a lot of flooding up here in Iowa early on in the week as well. Before we get ahead of ourselves here, let's take a look at radar Omega, as there is a 20% chance for tropical storm development out here in the Western Caribbean and Southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Not a big chance, but chance nonetheless. Basically just going to bring showers and thunderstorms down here to Central America. Be aware of that. Other than that, we don't have really much going on in the way of the tropics. Been a pretty quiet year so far, but trust me, this will be a very active hurricane season. As we take a look at the sea surface temperatures, we can see that the ocean temperatures are really toasty right now. Near 100-degree temperatures down here in the Gulf, so definitely pretty prime conditions for hurricane development. That's why we're saying that hurricane season is going to be a pretty big one. If you haven't checked out my hurricane forecast video, please do so. I break that down in depth in there. So now that we know that there's not really any tropical storms out there, it's going to be heating up. So it's going to take a look at what we could expect for the next couple weeks, since that's why y'all came here for. I'll take a look at the temperatures, since we know it's been very, very toasty here as of late. Record-breaking heat. As we can see, we're still going to be dealing with well above average temperatures for this time of year. 100-degree temperatures sticking around for quite some time. As we head into the beginning of July, really the same story. A little bit cooling off a little bit up here in the northwest. We're jealous of y'all down here. As we see on July 4th, 8 o'clock, still dealing with really muggy air. Take a look at the apparent temperatures, what we could be dealing with. Heat indexes up in the mid to upper 90s for really much of the country. Live down there by Texas, 110, 120 degree heat index. Please make sure you use your common sense by seeking shade and make sure you're drinking plenty of water and staying hydrated if you're going to be out in these hot temperatures. It looks like no relief is going to be in sight unless you live up here in the northwest. As we can see, there is a moderate risk for excessive heat, really for much of the eastern half of the country, and even out here by California as well. As we take a look at the next 6 to 10 days, as far as temperatures go by the Climate Prediction Center, we can see that really much of the country is going to be heading into an above average temperature pattern, except for from Washington on over into Michigan. Next 8 to 14 days, really much the same story, except for some below average temperatures up here in the northwest, which we are jealous of y'all down here amongst the rest of the country. And of course, how you can prepare for this, heat index dangers. Or heat index gets up into the 130 degree or higher, heat stroke can happen. Of course, anything over 90 is dangerous. Heat exhaustion versus heat stroke. Heat exhaustion is basically you're just weak and you're tired. Heat stroke is dangerous. Could lose consciousness and all that. Basically, just use your common sense if you're heading out, working out there in the sun. And go out there and get that vitamin D, by the way, as well. Go out to soak up those rays. Now, other than temperatures, it's going to take a look at whether or not we're going to have any more sort of severe weather as we head into July. And I'll be giving y'all a July 4th sneak peek as well. See if y'all can let off those fireworks out there and celebrate our independence. As we push forward, we know there's going to be some severe weather from today all the way into Thursday. Going to be dealing with some flooding as well. Looks like we're not going to be getting a break from any sort of flooding up here in the upper Midwest. Y'all been dealing with a lot of rain here as of late. You see that we're dealing with even more soggy conditions out east. Yeah, it's looking like we're going to be dealing with non-stop showers and thunderstorms. As we take a look at July 4th, we can see that there will be some rain showers out here amongst the eastern half of the country and still remaining dry out west. That's a bummer. This will change between now and then, so keep that in mind. This is well over 200 hours out. But we do have some drought conditions, although we're dealing with a lot of major flooding up here in the upper Midwest. We got some drought conditions over here by Indiana. Of course, Southwest, you're all dealing with some sort of drought conditions. But we are going to be getting a relief here soon as we take a look at the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook by the Climate Prediction Center. It's looking like we're going to be getting some well-needed precipitation down here in New Mexico and Arizona, dealing with some below average precipitation down in northeastern Texas and southern Arkansas, and out here amongst the Atlantic states and by California. Next 8 to 14 days looks just about the same story, drying out down here from Texas on over into the Carolinas, and out here from Montana down into California. So definitely prepare for more precipitation if you're out here amongst the eastern half of the country for the next 6 to 10 to 8 to 14 days. And it's looking like July 4th is unfortunately going to get rained out. But that's set to change. Please be aware of that if you're going to be going out on vacation or setting off fireworks. Now let's take a look at whether or not there will be any sort of tropical storms or hurricanes heading our way for the next couple weeks. We already know there's not going to be anything out there for the next 48 hours, but as we push this forward, it's looking like we could be dealing with some sort of disturbance as we head closer into July 4th. Definitely something to keep our eye on. These models typically like to print tropical storms and hurricanes well ahead of time, and this probably won't even happen, but definitely something to keep our eye on. And let's take a look at the GFS. This will show us further out. And the GFS is showing that same tropical storm forming by July 1st. It's going to be churning out here in the Caribbeans and heading towards Central America. But again, something to keep our eye on, and it might not even happen. And we can see on July 4th, they're showing that it's going to be soggy out amongst the eastern half of the country, just like the Euro did. So definitely something to keep our eye on. I'll keep an eye on it. It's well over 200 hours out, so it might not even happen. But again, I'll make some Facebook pages, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload, because everyone's weather. We try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. And lastly, let's take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly map. We haven't been taking a look at this in a good long time. This will show us where our troughs and ridges are going to be setting up. The blues, the trough, and the oranges are the ridge. You see that there's going to be a major heat dome taking place amongst much of the country, bringing those 100 degree temperatures. Then with a lot more sogginess up here, that's why there's a lot more low pressure systems. Really, we're not going to be getting away from the heat for a good long time. So definitely prepare for the heat and prepare for some really soggy conditions if you live out here amongst the eastern half of the country. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's weather forecast. If you did, make sure you hit that like and share button so more folks are informed about the weather. Leave me some feedback in the comment section down below. Feedback helps provide you the viewer better and more informed content in the future. And let me know about my audio. I did change it up a little bit today. Y'all may have heard that. Let me know in the comments if the audio is any good or not. Also, don't forget to subscribe with bell notifications turned on so y'all never miss an upload, because here at Wins Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. And make sure you stay tuned in my next video. I will have a July forecast video up, as July is looking to be very hot and dry, though it's going to be just about the same as June. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that as well. So again, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all for watching. Until next time, never stop forecasting.